Okay, picture this. A brilliant general,
Hmm.
a really captivating speaker, even a close student of Socrates himself.
Hmm.
Now imagine that same person is also, well, a notorious playboy, a political turncoat, and someone who just made powerful enemies everywhere he went.
Right. The kind of person you just can't look away from.
Exactly, even if you kind of want to.
Hmm.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into the life of Alcibiades. He's this figure from ancient Athens who was just a whirlwind of contradictions.
Absolutely. His life reads like a drama, triumphs, exiles, loyalty, betrayal, all playing out during the Peloponnesian War, a massive conflict.
And our sources for this are, pretty comprehensive historical accounts, scholarly takes. Our mission here is to try and figure out not just what he did, but why he mattered. What can we actually learn from someone so complex, so divisive?
Yeah, unpack the brilliance, the flaws, the whole package.
Get ready for some aha
Yeah.
moments, hopefully. Okay, so let's unpack this. Who was Alcibiades before he became this legendary, almost infamous figure? Where did he start?
Well, he was basically born into the Athenian elite,
Sure.
the real golden boy. He was the last of the Alcmaeonidae that was a hugely powerful aristocratic family. Think old money, old power.
Wow. So serious connections from the start.
Oh, yeah. His mother, Dynamach, was Pericles' cousin, the Pericles, and Ariphron too, so top-tier statesman. Even his name, Alcibiades, it actually has Spartan roots.
Spartan, how does that work?
Through this thing called xenia, it's like a formal guest friendship between families, even across city-states. So he had ties to Spartan aristocracy too, weirdly enough.
Huh. And Pericles himself was involved in his upbringing.
Yeah, after Alcibiades' father died in battle, Pericles became one of his guardians. So you've got this young guy basically raised at the absolute center of Athenian power, almost destined for the spotlight.
Destiny seems like the right word. And it wasn't just politics, right? He had this famous connection with Socrates.
Ah, yes, the Socrates connection. It's one of the most talked about relationships from that era. Really fascinating.
What drew Socrates to him? I mean, given Alcibiades' other tendencies.
Well, Socrates apparently saw immense potential in him, a brilliant mind, And Socrates genuinely thought he could guide him, steer him away from the vanity, the wildness, towards virtue.
So he saw past the surface.
Seems like it. And their bond was really strong. Famously, Socrates saved Alcibiades' life at the Battle of Potidæa.
Right, I remember that. 432 BC.
Exactly. And then Alcibiades returned the favor, saving Socrates at Delium in 424 BC. So it was deep. So deep, in fact, that Xenophon later used it to defend Socrates.
How so?
He argued, look, Socrates tried to teach Alcibiades morality. It wasn't Socrates' fault if Alcibiades chose his own path. It was meant to clear Socrates of the whole corrupting the youth charge.
It's amazing, isn't it? This deep philosophical mentorship happening alongside, Alcibiades being Alcibiades. He was known for being unruly, incredibly vain, apparently very good looking.
Oh, yeah. A force of nature, even as a young man. Definitely lived life on his own terms. There are some classic stories.
Let's hear them. Give us the flavor of young Alcibiades.
Okay, so Plutarch tells this one story. Alcibiades apparently just walks up and slaps Hipponicus, a really wealthy, respected Athenian, for no reason. Just slugs him.
What? Why?
Who knows? Maybe a dare. Anyway, the next day, Alcibiades shows up at Hipponicus's house naked, and offers himself up to be whipped as punishment.
That's unbelievable. What did Hipponicus do?
You'd expect fury, right? But no. Hipponicus just pardons him and then gets his daughter, Hipparete, to marry Alcibiades.
You're kidding. He turned getting slapped into marrying the guy's daughter. That's, wow. Pericles must have loved that.
Huh. Can you imagine? And his audacity didn't stop there. Later on, Hipparete actually tried to divorce him.
Why? Let me guess. Other women.
Bingo. Consorting with courtesans. So she goes to court to file for divorce, and Alcibiades just marches in, grabs her, and literally drags her back home through the agora, the main square.
In front of everyone.
In front of everyone. Just stop the whole legal process cold. Shows you the kind of power and, frankly, contempt for rules he had.
And the extravagance, too. The Olympic story.
Oh, the Olympics. 416 BC. Chariot racing was the big prestige event, right? Most wealthy guys entered maybe one team. Alcibiades enters 7.
7 teams.
7, and comes in first, second, and fourth. It was just this outrageous display of wealth and ambition, basically shouting, "Look at me."
He definitely wanted everyone looking. And he was persuasive, too, wasn't he?
Oh.
Despite a lisp.
Yeah, apparently the lisp was considered kind of charming back then, but his speaking, incredibly persuasive. He had this knack, this ability to just become whatever the audience needed him to be. A real chameleon, made him super effective in politics.
So this flamboyant, brilliant, pretty unpredictable young guy bursts onto the political scene. How did that happen? What was his big move?
His main rise really started after the Peace of Nicias. That was the shaky truce in the Peloponnesian War. Alcibiades was actually kind of ticked off because the Spartans negotiated it through Nicias and Laches, basically ignoring him. Maybe because he was young.
So he felt snubbed.
Yeah, and he immediately started pushing for Athens to get aggressive again. He wasn't a fan of peace, apparently, wanted action.
And he wasn't just talking, he was actively maneuvering, right? No. Playing the political game.
Oh, absolutely. He saw politics like a battlefield. There's this famous story where he totally played the Spartan ambassadors. Oh. He met them secretly, convinced them to tell the Athenian assembly they didn't have full power to negotiate, even though they did. Then, in the assembly, he calls them out on it, makes them look like fools, and completely embarrasses Nicias, who supported the peace.
Wow.
Totally. And it worked. Boosted his own reputation massively. He gets appointed general shortly after. Then he engineers this big alliance, Argos, Mantinea, Elis, directly challenging Sparta.
He was moving fast.
Very fast. Yeah. This is also when Hyperbolos gets ostracized, kicked out of Athens, showing Alcibiades' growing kind of ruthless political muscle. And chillingly, he supported the Melos decree.
Ah, Melos. That was brutal, wasn't it?
Horrific. All the men killed, women and children enslaved. Alcibiades backed it. Shows you his pragmatism, maybe his ruthlessness. He knew how to use power and wasn't scared to get his hands dirty.
Which brings us to the Sicilian expedition. This massive, ambitious, ultimately disastrous gamble for Athens. He was behind that too.
He was one of the biggest cheerleaders for it, yeah. 415 BC. He sold it as this path to huge riches, expanding the empire like the Persian Wars did for Athens earlier. Conquer Syracuse, the big power in Sicily, then maybe move on to Italy, even Carthage. Big dreams.
And Nicias, his rival, was against it.
Strongly against it. But here's the irony. Nicias tried to scare the Athenians off by listing all the resources they'd need, this massive fleet and army.
And that just made them want it more.
Exactly. They thought, wow, this must be huge if it needs that much. So Nicias accidentally ramped up the scale. It went from maybe 60 ships to like 140 galleys, 5,100 soldiers, plus archers, slingers. A colossal force, way bigger than anything Pericles ever launched.
And Alcibiades, Nicias, and another guy, Lamachus, were put in charge.
Yep, joint command, full authority. It was Athens betting the farm.
But then, just as they're about to sail, disaster strikes for Alcibiades personally, this religious scandal. Really bad timing.
Couldn't have been worse. The night before the fleet leaves, someone goes around Athens and mutilates the Hermae.
The what now?
The Hermae. They were these stone pillars with the head of the god Hermes and often a phallus. They were everywhere, like protective statues, outside homes and public spaces. Smashing them up was huge sacrilege. A terrible omen.
Okay, yeah, that sounds bad. And Alcibiades got blamed.
He did, accused of that and of profaning the Eleusinian mysteries, the absolute holiest rites in Athens. He demanded a trial right away, wanted to clear his name before sailing.
Makes sense. Did he get one?
Nope. They denied his request, said deal with it later. So the fleet sails, but these charges are just hanging over him. And his enemies back in Athens, guys like Androcles, piled on while he was gone, even hinted he was plotting against the democracy.
So he's leading this huge invasion force, but could basically be executed if he goes home. What happens then? He doesn't actually lead the invasion in Sicily, does he?
No, he doesn't make it there as commander. The fleet gets to Catania in Sicily, and the state messenger ship, the Salaminia, is waiting. Orders to bring him back to Athens for trial.
And he goes.
Alcibiades? No.
Yeah.
He knew it was a death sentence waiting. He and his crew slipped away at Thuria in southern Italy. Just vanished.
He defected.
Pretty much. Back in Athens, they convicted him in his absence. Condemned to death, property confiscated. And the kicker, he immediately apparently sent word to Syracuse's allies in Messina, warning them the Athenians were coming. Prevented Athens from easily taking that key city.
Wow, so he actively sabotaged the mission he helped launch.
Seems like it. And with Lamachus later dying in battle, the whole command fell to Nicias, who, as one modern historian put it, was just not up to the job, an inadequate military leader for something this big. It was a huge blow to the expedition right from the start.
Okay, so now his story takes another wild turn. He's condemned by Athens. So he goes to Sparta, their biggest enemy. How does that even work?
It's maybe the most audacious pivot. Once he was safe in Thuria, He basically sent a message to the Spartans saying, hey, I can do you guys way more good now than I ever did you harm before.
Seriously. And they bought it.
They did. They gave him sanctuary. And he immediately became this incredibly valuable strategic advisor. There was this key debate in Sparta, should they send help to Syracuse. Alcibiades argued forcefully, basically scaring them, by painting this picture of Athens conquering Sicily, then Italy, then Carthage.
Playing on their fears.
Exactly. He claimed he knew Athens' grand plan. It worked. It galvanized the Spartans into action and cemented his own position with them. It really shows how personal grudges and insider knowledge can be weaponized, doesn't it? Loyalty for him seemed pretty flexible.
And his advice wasn't just talk. He gave them concrete plans that really hurt Athens, didn't he?
Devastatingly so. His biggest contribution was probably advising them to fortify Decelia.
Decelia? Where's that?
It's a strategic spot just about 10 miles north of Athens. By putting a permanent Spartan fort there, they basically cut Athens off from their farmland, their homes outside the walls, and, crucially, their silver mines at Laurium.
Oh, wow. So everyone had to cram inside the city walls.
Year-round. Totally reliant on supplies coming in by sea, massive strain on morale, resources, everything. It was a brilliant, nasty strategic move based on his intimate knowledge of Attica.
And that wasn't all, was it?
No. After Athens got crushed in Sicily, he sailed with the Spartan fleet over to Ionia on the coast of modern-day Turkey and started persuading Athens' allies in the Delian League to revolt, stirring up trouble everywhere. He was incredibly effective for Sparta.
But knowing Alcibiades...
Yeah.
Trouble probably found him in Sparta too, right? His personal life never seemed quiet.
You guessed it. He had a pretty scandalous affair with Timea, the wife of the Spartan king, Aegeus II.
With the queen? Seriously?
Yep. And it was widely rumored that her son, Leotychides, was actually Alcibiades.
Okay, that's not going to end well.
Not at all. King Aegeus was, understandably, furious. Orders went out for Alcibiades' assassination. But Alcibiades, being Alcibiades, got tipped off. And in 412 BC, he defects again.
Where to this time?
To the Persians. Specifically to the powerful Persian governor, or satrap, named Tissaphernes. It seems no bridge was too burned for him to cross.
So now he's advising the Persians, who were basically funding the Spartans against Athens. What was his angle there? Still playing all sides.
Absolutely. His advice to Tissaphernes was pure manipulation. He told him basically, don't give the Spartans too much money, reduce their payments, maybe bribe some of their generals.
Why? To weaken the Spartans?
Partly, but his main argument was prolong the war. Let Athens and Sparta bleed each other dry. Then, when they're both exhausted, Persia can swoop in and pick up the pieces.
That's incredibly cynical, but clever.
Very clever. It shows this deep understanding of geopolitics. Conflict wasn't good versus evil for him. It was a resource to be managed. But here's the thing. His real goal in all this...
Let me guess. Get back to Athens.
You got it. He was trying to use his supposed influence with Persia as leverage. Hey, Athens, I can get you Persian gold, maybe even their fleet, if you just let me come home. He was always playing the long game to get back.
Okay. After defecting twice, advising both their major enemies, you'd think Athens would just say, no way. But they were in a bad spot, weren't they?
They were desperate. Things were chaotic in Athens. They even had a short-lived oligarchic coup, the 400. Alcibiades started negotiating with some Athenian leaders based on the island of Samos. He dangled the prospect of Persian support if they changed the government, though Tissaphernes was actually playing neutral, so that part didn't quite work out.
But the fleet at Samos, they wanted him back.
The sailors, yes. Especially guys like Alcibiades. They recognized his military brilliance, maybe believed his claims about Persian influence. They voted to recall him.
And he went back to Samos.
He did. And crucially, he arrived just as the troops there were about to sail against the oligarchs in Athens. He managed to calm them down, preventing a full-blown civil war. That was huge. And then they elected him general, a strategos, right there on Samos.
Incredible. Even after everything, they saw him as indispensable.
Pretty much. His charisma, his reputation as a winner, it still held sway, especially in a crisis.
And did he deliver? Did he start winning for Athens again?
He absolutely did, almost immediately. His campaigns in the Hellespont, that's the strait connecting the Aegean to the Sea of Marmara, vital for Athens' grain supply, were spectacular.
Like what?
At the Battle of Abydos, the Athenians were losing badly. His arrival with just 18 extra ships completely turned the tides, saved the day. But the real masterpiece was the Battle of Cyzicus in 410 BC.
What happened there?
Pure tactical genius. He used a small part of his fleet as a decoy, lured the main Spartan fleet out into open water, then sprung a trap with the rest of his ships, pinned them against the shore, Total annihilation.
Really? How bad was it for Sparta?
So bad that the Athenians intercepted the official Spartan dispatch back home. It literally said, "The ships are lost. Mindarus, their commander, is dead. The men are starving. We know not what to do."
Wow. Just devastating. That must have been a massive boost for Athens.
Huge. A complete turnaround after the disaster in Sicily. It felt like maybe, just maybe, they could still win this war, thanks to Alcibiades.
And he kept winning after Cyzicus.
Yeah.
Was it just naval battles?
No, he proved versatile. He continued campaigning in that region. He successfully besieged Chalcedon, captured Selymbria, took Byzantium, modern Istanbul. What's really interesting is how he often did it.
Wow.
Not always through bloody, drawn-out sieges. He used negotiation, diplomacy, sometimes even treachery, or finding collaborators inside the city walls. He was smart. He knew how to achieve objectives without necessarily paying the highest price in Athenian lives. Tactical flexibility, you could call it.
Okay, so he's racking up wins, restoring Athenian power in a key region.
Yeah.
He must have been seen as a savior back home.
Totally. Which leads to his incredible, triumphant return to Athens.
This is the big hero's welcome after everything he'd done.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Spring of 407 BC, he sails into Piraeus, the port of Athens, crowds cheering, total hero worship, all the old charges dropped, confiscated property, restored, and then they elect him Strategos, autocrator, supreme commander, land and sea, full powers.
Wow, that's quite the comeback.
And he made this big symbolic gesture, too. He personally led the sacred procession to Eleusis by land. They hadn't been able to do that for years because the Spartans at Decelia made it too dangerous. So leading it was this huge morale booster, a sign of renewed confidence, and for him, a public act of piety, maybe redemption.
Yeah, there's always a but with Alcibiades, isn't there? I read something about the timing being bad.
Yeah, the historians love pointing this out. He arrived back in Athens on the day of the Plintaria.
What's the Plintaria?
It was a religious festival considered the unluckiest day of the whole year to start any important undertaking, kind of an ominous sign, right? And you can bet his enemies remember that detail later.
Okay, so the triumph doesn't last. How did it fall apart this time? So quickly, too.
Agonizingly quickly. His second downfall came just a year later, 406 BC, the Battle of Notium.
What went wrong at Notium?
Alcibiades needed to leave the main fleet briefly to raise money, always a problem for Athens. He left his personal helmsman, a guy named Antiochus, in charge of the ships at Notium near Ephesus. His orders were crystal clear. Do not engage the Spartan fleet under Lysander.
Let me guess. Antiochus engaged the Spartan fleet.
Yep. Antiochus, maybe trying to impress Alcibiades or win some glory, decided to try and provoke Lysander. He sailed out with just a few ships, basically baiting them. Lysander wasn't fooled, saw the opportunity, attacked, and routed the Athenian force. Antiochus himself was killed.
And Alcibiades got the blame, even though he wasn't there and gave orders not to fight.
Predictably, yes. His enemies seized on the defeat. He was the supreme commander. The buck stopped with him. He was dismissed from command. And Alcibiades, probably seeing the writing on the wall, didn't even wait around. He went into exile. Again, a second time.
It's just like that. And this defeat at Notium, was it a huge military loss?
Militarily. Not catastrophic in terms of ships lost. But the political fallout was massive. Because Alcibiades was dismissed, it led to a shakeup. And other capable commanders like Thrasybulus were also sidelined or lost influence. Athens basically lost its most experienced leadership team right when they needed it most. Many argue that this loss of command talent directly contributed to the final decisive defeat at Aegospotami 2 years later and Athens' eventual surrender. His absence was felt just as much as his presence.
A truly dramatic and violent end for someone who lived so large, so publicly, after laying out this whole roller coaster. How did people back then, and historians since, even try to make sense of him? How do you assess someone with so many sides?
He completely polarized opinion then and now. Thucydides, the great contemporary historian, was pretty critical. Saw him as exceedingly ambitious, said his personal habits gave offense to many, and ultimately blamed his actions for contributing to Athens' downfall.
Harsh. What about others?
Plutarch, writing later, called him the least scrupulous of men. Pretty damning. But then you have others, like the orator Demosthenes, who later defended his patriotism, pointed to his victories, saw him as a kind of symbol of Athenian greatness, flaws and all.
So the debate continues. Brilliant general, master diplomat, or just an unscrupulous, power-hungry egoist?
Exactly. Scholars still argue. Was he an unmatched military mind let down by politics? Or was his flawed character, the arrogance, the betrayals, the ultimate cause of his and Athos's problems? Some even throw around terms like psychopathic traits. It's tough because even his enemies admitted his brilliance. They just felt they absolutely couldn't trust him.
But the one thing everyone seems to agree on is his charisma, his way with words.
Undeniably. Renowned as an able speaker. Persuasive, charming, even with that lisp, he had that uncanny ability, as we said, to be whatever his audience needed. He could read a room, read people.
Aristophanes really nailed it, didn't he?
Yeah.
That line about Athens.
Yearns for him and hates him too, but wants him back. That perfectly captures the paradox. They couldn't live with him, couldn't seem to win without him. His personality just resonated so deeply for good and ill.
And his story clearly sticks with us. He pops up everywhere.
He does. Socratic dialogues, Shakespeare's Timon of Athens, even modern stuff like the video game Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or apparently influencing the characterization in the movie Patton. He's just one of those historical figures who remains endlessly fascinating.
Alcibiades' story, it's just such a vivid reminder, isn't it? How one person's ambition, their talent, their charisma, how it can shape history, but also shatter things. He was just this force of nature, always in the middle of the song.
Not possible to ignore.
So listening to all this, what stands out to you? Is he a tragic hero, a brilliant villain, or just maybe a product of those incredibly turbulent times? His life makes you ask some big questions about leadership, about loyalty. Can incredible gifts ever really make up for deep character flaws?
And maybe thinking bigger picture, it brings up something relevant even now. In our world, with so much information, so many powerful personalities, how do we actually tell the difference between a leader's real talents and maybe their less admirable qualities? It's hard to look past the shine sometimes.
Exactly. And how much does a leader's private life, their personal choices, really affect their public role, especially when the stakes are as high as they were for Athens back then?
Yeah.
Can those things ever be truly separate? It's a question as old as Alcibiades himself, really, and one we're definitely still wrestling with today. Thanks for diving deep with us on this one.